What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a pretty decently big video for you guys today. And I gotta be honest, I feel like the CEOs did not really do too good of a job when it comes to how they handled the sponsored creators and how they handled the cash that they pushed forward to making sure people would, basically go ahead and play the game. Which is strange because from what I hear from other people who are following Splitgate 1 a lot longer than I was, the CEOs made it very clear that, sponsoring bigger streamers is a bad idea. So it's very awkward that with Splitgate 2, they went ahead and, did exactly that, sponsored big streamers. It almost seems like someone else is tugging the streams in terms of marketing. But we're going to go ahead and discuss all the details. We're going to share my opinions on both the positive and the negatives, and hopefully we can have a pretty fun discussion down in the comment section below. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, before we go and dive deep, if you guys are interested in more content just like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. We post daily here at 8 in the morning Eastern Time. Everything between COD, Battlefield, Splitgate 2, Arc Raiders, and of course, a like or even a dislike on this video would go a long way because as you guys know on YouTube, posting multiple different video games isn't that phenomenal for the algorithm. The algorithm likes to, force you into one game and one game only. So doing this is a little harsh, but I have a lot of fun doing variety. And if you guys like the variety too, make sure you show a little love. And last but not least, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, I got to link that channel down in the description of this video. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I saw this over on Twitter by Charlie Intel, and actually a couple of other news sources went ahead and reposted this too. But it says, new report claims Splitgate 2 developer reportedly paid over $400,000 to influencers to stream and play the game. Splitgate 2 has now lost 90% of its player base on Steam since its launch. And this is from Streamforge, I believe. But luckily, the homie, the jack of all trades, for anybody who doesn't know this individual, he makes amazing YouTube content. He hit me in the DMs with a link to the actual LinkedIn post that showcases all the data and all the stats on where the money personally went. First and foremost, as you can see right here, I'm not going to go over the whole post. I'll leave it down in the description of this video. And I don't know what Jack is going to be doing. He might actually go into this post in more details, but I just wanted to show you guys the numbers and just kind of discuss afterwards. First and foremost, the cost efficiency. YouTube Shorts got $13,971 in budget and got over 1 million sponsored views. YouTube Streams got 1,000 in budget, barely anything honestly, with 5,288 sponsored views. YouTube Videos got $52,000, and Twitch Streams got $341,000. Basically, the big chunk of cash went straight into the Twitch Streams. Next up here, the top creators hired. As you can see, Summit is at the very top with $25,000. He got a quarter of $100K to go ahead and stream, a consistent amount over on Twitch playing Splitgate 2. No wonder his opinion. I mean, he was saying it time and time and time again. This game is amazing. This game is awesome. This really brings me back to the good old, arcade days. No wonder he was giving all of that, lip service, although a lot of us do agree. I think this game is phenomenal. But you could tell. You can 110% tell when someone is either paid to say something or they genuinely actually enjoy it. And yeah, I mean, we can all see that Summit was paid to pretty much say exactly what he said. And then, of course, you could see all the other creators below. And last but not least here, the budget allocation breakdown. Twitch, again, got $341,000, 83%. YouTube got $52,000. YouTube Shorts, $13,000. YouTube Streams, $1,000. And TikTok got none. Although TikTok got a lot of, popularity for them over on Splitgate 2. So I'm kind of shocked they didn't put anything into that, and they might have actually been able to push the game a bit further if they decided to put any cash into the TikTok side of things. But again, the whole purpose of this video is I want to discuss my feelings on this whole budget here. As we already stated, $400,000 is not like the end of the world. Again, they got $100 million to go ahead and put together Splitgate 2. So trust me, $400,000 isn't even a dent into the overall, pockets that they had to put together this game. But I still think it was just a very bad move to go ahead and pick up a lot of these big creators because we all know what the outcome is going to be at the end of the day. And we saw it exactly as it is. Once these creators get their paychecks, they're out. They're going back to the exact game that they're already playing consistently. They're going to come over to Splitgate 2 for the time that they have to. And then they're just going to go ahead and mind their own business. They're not going to bother with it again. They're not going to discuss it again. They're not going to bring any light to the game again. And I also mentioned this in my X-Defined video I made a little while ago, how they'll probably come back. If Splitgate 2 ever goes away, they'll probably come back and say, oh, this game had so much potential. You know, it's so great. They'll probably, you know, give it some more lip service at its deathbed. But obviously, the massive majority of people that you saw online streaming this game, making content around this game, were all paid to go ahead and do so. Like, I would say not even a quarter of it was genuine, real content of someone who truly does enjoy the game. And it's sad because you could tell that the budget is dry. You know, if you go over on Twitch, I stream this game pretty much daily. Again, if you guys want to catch it, I'll be live again today. There's nobody streaming this game, man. Absolutely no one. The category went from getting thousands and thousands and thousands of views, people, you know, hopping on every single day to go ahead and stream it, to now, I mean, I'm not a big streamer whatsoever, and I'm topping the charts, you know, in the early morning into the afternoon. And then, of course, some of the other hardcore, you know, OG Splitgate guys come on later in the afternoon tonight, and they go ahead and top the charts as well. But, you know, we might be lucky if we can get a couple of hundred people viewing Splitgate 2 on stream at a time. You know, it's mostly just the hardcore individuals. You know, I got Ramblin', you got me, you know, and maybe like a couple of others who are going to be live at the very moment. Everybody else has already done the dash. I'm not going to lie to you guys, as much as I really enjoy Splitgate 2, and I love the work that the developers are putting in here, and the creativity that they're trying to push through with this game, at the end of the day, I gotta be honest, you know, this was not a good move whatsoever, and I feel like they positioned that money in the worst way possible, because this has happened to so many different games as well, not just Splitgate. You know, this is a common tactic to go ahead and sponsor some of the top, you know, streamers, top YouTubers, get them to talk a decent amount of game and hope that their audience will go ahead and trickle throughout the title, but they never do. They never ever do. I mentioned this in my video before. These streamers, what they stream is what their audience is going to play as well. I mentioned this with the event that we had, the streamer event. Everybody thought it was rigged, but I kept telling people it's not rigged. You know, when people hop on stream, when they make YouTube videos, their audience is going to be doing the same exact thing. If someone can pull in hundreds of thousands of viewers and tell them all, hey, go hop in and get a few kills, they'll go ahead and do so. But that's a double-edged sword. You know, not only are they going to be able to bring those people in, but when that paycheck goes away, and if these gamers really, truly don't, you know, want to play Splitgate 2 that much, they're going to bounce, and their audience is going to bounce with them. It'll bring in a slight amount of players, but they're going to end up leaving. You know, and it seems kind of weird because a lot of the people who are smaller creators aren't really getting that much love. I saw a post by JBear over on Twitter saying, 400,000 for an MVP program you guys never used or supported. Submitted my application for MVP and never heard a single word. One of the first MVPs in Splitgate 1, and to not get a single invite in the Splitgate 2 is severely disappointing. Literally, one of the first MVPs in Splitgate 1 couldn't even go ahead and get access to the Splitgate 2 MVP program. Same thing here with Coma, you know, as a response to this overall tweet saying, not even 400K on the MVP program, it was all marketing. And yeah, I submitted my MVP application literally as soon as the Splitgate 2 MVP program launched, and still to this day, I haven't gotten a reply. This is also coming from someone whose username is actually on the Hall of Fame. So one of the people who are on the Hall of Fame list for Splitgate 1, the developers purposely put them on that list, they can't even go ahead and get into this program. It seems like all of the most hardcore audience can't tap into this whatsoever and try to support the game the way they want to support it. But they will allow all the top end, you know, people to hop on in, and they're not even going to be dedicated to the game itself. They're not even going to put it into their rotation. They don't even have to be dedicated. They don't got to play it every single day. Even if it's like, you know, once a week, twice a week, just in their normal rotation of games will be phenomenal. But they got all these people and they don't want to touch it whatsoever. I just feel like the developers handled this in the worst way possible, and it all seems oh so backwards. And they could have used more for marketing. They could have. Again, as I stated, 400K out of 100 million is nothing. They could have went above and beyond. But that also makes me think maybe they will. I was thinking in the back of my head, they shouldn't have used the money for these, you know, top-end streamers. They should have used it to remarket the game, right? Wouldn't that be phenomenal if they could get another chance to get up on stage, completely try to rephrase what they were putting out there, and have a little bit more time to do so? They had 30 seconds at Summer Games Fest to try to, you know, cram it all in. Imagine if they had a minute, 2 minutes. I don't want to say potentially even more. Maybe it depends on how these shows work and, you know, what the budget looks like to get that much time. I'm sure it's a lot. But imagine if they're able to go back in and really describe it down. Talk about Arena. Talk about Onslaught. talk about the lab and the customs. Share that it is indeed a passion project for the community. If they could go deeper into that, that would be a better use of that money than sponsoring a bunch of streamers. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think down in the comment section. Do you think that would be a better use, or do you think that sponsoring these streamers is the best way of handling it? And personally, like I said, I can see both sides here. I can. Although I feel like they shouldn't go ahead and sponsor these streamers. They should hyper-prioritize maybe the smaller community. And also, again, hyper-prioritize trying to get themselves back out there on stage, on platforms, in the open for people to see, to try to regain that trust. On the other end, sponsoring these streamers does work out sometimes. It does. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Although, as I stated, a lot of people are followers. They don't actually play games that they want to enjoy. They play games that they see their favorite creators play. There would be a handful trickling behind. But I feel like Splitgate 2 was rushed to the point where it wasn't ready for these sponsored creators. If they really genuinely had to sponsor and advertise, market with all these top dogs, they should have seriously waited. There was no rush for it whatsoever. If the massive hype of their game came from these creators hopping in, they could have held off, polished off the game, and then went forward with this option. And I'm going to be real, I hope that they do have some extra cash on the side to do this. As I stated 50,000 times before, I know it's probably getting annoying hearing me say this, but 400K is not even pocket change to 100 million. I really, 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 really hope that the CEOs or whoever is in charge of marketing, because as I stated in the beginning of this video, it's weird that the CEOs claim that, sponsoring bigger streamers isn't really the way. And then Splitgate 2 comes around and that's exactly what they do. It seems like someone else is up there, dictating how they should go ahead and handle the situation, because the CEOs have experience. They already tried to sponsor like Dr. Disrespect for Splitgate 1. And it didn't do anything, right? They have experience, and they know what happens when you give money to bigger creators. They know that they come in, people come in, but they all dwindle very quickly. They already know this. So it seems, like I said, it just seems so weird that they would do it again with Splitgate 2. But as I stated, they should get this game in a better spot, get everything fixed and resolved, and try again. Go for another wave. If they really have to market that way, if that's really the only way, although, as I stated before, I don't think it is. I don't want people to jump down my throat saying that, oh, he wants them to. No. Don't start that. I didn't say that. But if this has to be done, if this is the only way, then they should come at it with the approach of putting together the game completely. People like me can sit here and play this game for hours on end. I've never been picky when it comes to the games I play. And all it takes is the game to have a good gameplay flow, and I'm hooked, One of my favorite Call of Duty games is World at War. There's nothing to grind in that game. You grind your level. There's no camos, you just play. You play to play. I've never needed that type of stuff, but gaming has changed. People need a grind. People need progression, and the game just missed so much at launch. Although it's fun as hell, and all it needs is just a few bug fixes, and it's extraordinarily smooth, right? Not having a, rank progression grind, not having ranked in general, like actual ranked, although I do understand it takes some time for them to balance things out, but still, they had time to balance things out. They waited a few weeks and it still launched in a very weird state. So, not even locking up factions is a interesting decision. So, not having a rank, not having official ranked, and then not having camos, and just general things to grind hurt it. Imagine if they had the camo grind in place when all these streamers came in and started advertising the game to a decent degree. Imagine if players, casuals who hopped into the title, had more to do than just sweat and compete. That might have captured a bigger audience. So I think it's multiple different things to be said about this overall post, but on both ends, I feel like the developers could have handled this whole situation in a much better way. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. We post your daily at 8 morning Eastern time. And of course, if you guys are interested in my live streams, I stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, if you guys are interested, you can link that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you all next one. Peace out.